What is going on? You are checking out an all new the RCWR show. Lee Sanders here. Thank you so much for checking out this episode for Thursday night of June the 4th, 2020. How the hell y'all been, man? Oh, I can't tell you how tired and exhausted I am feeling right now, because I am. My schedule has been a little bit crazy so far, so I got in my 8 hours of sleep last night and woke up pretty much washed up, went to work. Just now, I would say I probably have been in the house now for maybe almost 30 minutes. I haven't even had a bite to eat yet because I had remembered, oh snap, supposed to be doing the show. So, did last little bit of preparation, and then boom, here we are right now. So no dinner yet. So we'll see how this goes, because normally I'm a little bit irritable when I haven't had dinner yet. So kind of weird, but enough about me. How the hell y'all been, man? Hey, as always, as we stream our shows, we're streaming on multiple platforms. Hopefully we won't have any hiccups. I'll talk a little bit of tech stuff in a hot second, but we are simulcasting right now on multiple platforms. We're simulcasting on YouTube, also on Twitch, Mixer, Facebook. Use the keywords The RCWR Show. Got a great solid episode for you guys tonight. Very heavy on the wrestling. A little bit of non-wrestling, but very heavy on the wrestling. So we got your hookup as far as tonight goes. I do want to try to do a little bit of a short show. One of the main reasons why we're actually dealing with some thunderstorms over here in the DMV, and I actually got caught in a little bit of that weather. It wasn't really too bad. I would say I didn't even get drenched now that I think about it, but my shirt definitely got wet. Luckily, it dried itself off I would say almost by the time I got home, actually. It had took care of itself. But we are dealing with a little bit of storms over here. And the last thing I hate doing is being live during a goddamn thunderstorm, because you just never know what might happen. Not to mention, I got a short turnaround to work for Friday. So I do want to try to, it's not going to be a short show. I mean, honestly, if we can do about 90 minutes, I will freaking take it. 90 minutes, I will take it. Got the chat room open. I am seeing what you all are saying, so have at it. And I can't stress this enough. For those of you that's going to be watching this live, the webcast that is, do me a huge favor. If at any time the feed gets interrupted, just simply look for the stream again, hop in there, and let me know what's going on. Very important. I have went back and forth with the people that are in charge of and I hate to put their name out there because I don't want to bury them, but I got in contact with the people that's in control of distributing the stream to multiple platforms, and I said to them, look, what's going on here? I did about 10 shows for the month of May, and woo, I had about at least 4 of them get interrupted, like split in 2. Gave them all my computer spec stats, gave them my internet. I'm like, my shit's banging, it's on point. They're like, oh, well, let us see, you tell us what is your, like, motherfucker, I just told you what's going on with my stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever. I just told him it was good, so I gave him the information. I sent them 4 screenshots. 4 screenshots. And, we only saw the first image. What are the other images? Where's the other images we requested? Like, I sent you all the images that you requested. I sent you 4 images. What are you talking about? Check your email. I'm seeing at my end. I'm looking in the sent inbox. I sent you 4. What are you talking about? And it just kept going back and forth like that. And I guess finally, whoever it was that was helping me, there must have been about, that's the other thing I don't like about online customer service. I know you guys will feel me on this one. Somebody responds to your ticket, you reply back, And the next thing you know, it's not that same person. So the first person that responds to your ticket, it's Sam. And after you reply to Sam, you give Sam whatever info, then Miguel steps in. And you're going, well, what the fuck happened to Sam? All right, whatever, you're dealing with Miguel. Then after you reply to Miguel, now you're dealing with Christina. And you're going, well, wait a minute. Okay, so Sam, Miguel, Christina, Jesus Christ, what's going on here? And then next thing you know, just when you think, okay, surely, then Paul comes in there. You're responding to Paul, and now we go rewind it back to what was the first name I put out there? Sam. Sam's going, oh, I don't see such and such. That's literally what I had going on with this company. We'll multi-streams and multiple platforms. It's a breeze, no problem. You do it for free. And as my mom always says, you always get what you paid for. So I should have badly. So, I'm going to evaluate what's going on with them for the month of June, because they pretty much told me after finally getting on the same page and they saw my images, yeah, your specs are good. It looks like your computer should be able to handle it. Maybe you need to get in contact with whatever you're using as far as your OBS goes, blah, 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 blah. Tech stuff, don't want to bore you, but I'm just going, dummy, yeah. And not me, but to them, I'm going, okay, I didn't have this problem with Restream.io. I never had this problem with YouTube when I was going on their back end, and so no, you guys are the problem, is what I'm thinking. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to evaluate for the next little bit, but I think before the end of June is up, I think we're going to go on ahead and we are going to, give me a second here. I think before the month of June is out, I think we're going to be going back to Restream.io, because this is some bullshit that's going on here, man. So check a load of wrestling that came at us from this week, man. I checked out the stuff from AEW. I checked out stuff from Impact Wrestling. I checked out stuff from NXT. And man, gotta tell you, I really loved what everybody had put out there this week. I was very, very, very impressed. Loved it. Let's start with AEW. Now, I got a little bit of a bone to pick in some areas with this week's AEW Dynamite. I already saw the ratings for the shows, by the way, so I can't guess. I would love to guess, but fortunately I saw the ratings first. I was trying to just get the ratings information ready to go, but somehow I was able to see it within the first 5 words, basically, and it's like, motherfucker. So that's the last time I used that website. But no, AEW Dynamite this week, they did a pretty good job. FTR speaking for the very first time since arriving in AEW, letting their thoughts be known on what they think about AEW's current tag team division. That was a really great interview that they had with Shivani. I enjoyed that. And I hear some of my colleagues and other people, what's the big deal? What's the big deal with Revival? Everybody's tripping over the Revival now that they've made the jump to AEW, or now that they made the jump to another promotion. What's the big deal? They're still just going to end up being a hot mess. It's no different than what was going on with them when they were in the WWE. Don't see what the big deal is. So, I'm sure you've probably seen it too on social media and in forums and everything. There's a big vocal of people that are, what's all that hot air about? All this talk. Like, it's just the fucking FTR Revival. It's like, what's the big deal? And I'll tell you what the deal is. And I think a lot of people, even some of I love some of you guys. I love everybody. I love my friends in the podcasting world and everything. But I think with regards to the analysis for that, I think you guys are missing one big picture, one big overall picture. Now, if you were to ask me, just pretend you're having a beer with me right now. We're chilling at a bar. We're throwing down some drinks. We're talking wrestling. we bring up FTR, Revival, whatever you want to call it. My point would be this. Well, the reason why fans are so excited to see these guys in AEW right now is that amongst the hardcore fans that backed up this team the moment they had arrived in NXT and saw the potential that they felt, hey, these guys, they're going to be about something. They're going to be about something on the main roster. These are guys that we got to watch. The majority of fans that saw these guys from NXT, that would include me as well, we all were in a position, and see, this is where you can really kind of gauge the type of fan base that are into certain superstars. For us that watch this team from NXT, we're going, oh man, that is a nice old school throwback of a tag team. They are freaking retro. Just imagine if these guys, just take these guys, and you remember early on, you've been listening long enough, you remember in previous years, one of the things that I said about Revival, FTR, I said, this is a tag team, at least as far as the WWE universe goes. This is way before NWA Power and all that other shit went down. I had said, sadly, what could be a flaw for the Revival, FTR, is that, I'm going to start calling them FTR from here on out, so y'all know who I'm talking about from here on out, so I don't confuse people. I said, the thing with them is, as great of a tag team as they are, you know, old school, technical, and all of that, they're from the wrong era. You know, and again, we're talking back to when they first came into NXT and everything. Just think about how the wrestling real estate was, where everything was back then and there. We didn't have the nostalgia like we have now with NWA Power and everything like that. So, you know, kind of keeping that in mind, a lot of us are looking at this team and we're going, oh man, you know, they're really good. Well, hey, can see a lot of great things happening for them upon moving up to the main roster. You know, just think about all the great feuds that they would be able to have with this team, this team, this team, that team, and that team. And their run in NXT was a damn good run. It was a damn good run. But when it was time for them to be done with NXT and move on to mainstream, move on to the bigger shows, it just did not really resonate well with the fans. And, you know, if you were to ask me straight up, what was the number one flaw? What, you know, was it really personality? You know, was it really? And I would say a little bit of personality was a part of it. Just a little bit. Maybe a lot to a degree was part of it. But when I look back on FTR's time on the main roster, you talk about the biggest sign of misuse. Anybody can go back, look at their entire run on the main roster. They were just... Now, granted, when they first came in, the way they were booked on the flagship shows, Raw, SmackDown, it was living up to what they were about when they were in NXT. But see, here's the problem with all of that. And this is the big difference. And I don't really think that this is going to continue to be a problem from here on out. And I wish my other friends in the podcasting world would really get on this. This all goes back to the NXT effect on that casual fan and on that hardcore wrestling fan. To my point, you think back to when FTR first popped up and NXT and everything. NXT was not on USA Network yet. NXT was just its own little thing on the WWE Network. I've told you many times on this show how I've spoken to people and talk of wrestling would come up Oh, hey, what do you think about, hey, who's your favorite? Hey, cool. Oh, what do you think about NXT? I can't tell you how many times over the years, not so much now, but over the previous years, yeah, don't care for NXT. Yeah, but they got this person and this person and this person. Oh, shit, I remember talking to one person that was a big fan of Charlotte Flair. And at this point, Charlotte had been on the main roster for a couple of years now. And I said, hey, did you see some of her stuff in NXT? Did you see when she feuded with so and so and so and so and so and so? It's like, no, I don't watch NXT. It's like, really? It's like, you should watch NXT, because Charlotte and you could be seeing tomorrow's superstars down there. Didn't give two shits about it. Did not give two shits about it. You had people, and I really wish that more people would be honest with themselves, which is you had a lot of people that looked at NXT before it moved to the USA Network. They treated NXT like main event, like superstars. They treated it as an afterthought. It doesn't have all my favorites. It doesn't have, I don't care about this show. Now, you can't help but wonder now. And I think, to answer the question, everything's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. But you can't help but wonder, okay, well, now that NXT is on the USA Network, you got Raw and everything, and okay, so will it be different? And yes, I truly believe it will be different. There's a reason why, we've been seeing what we've been seeing ever since NXT made the move to the USA Network. When they had the whole brands fighting each other, we don't need to go full hardcore fully on freaking wrestling history and everything. But when you just kind of stop and you think for a second what I'm talking about, I'm bringing up some pretty valid points. Bringing up some very valid points. So I don't think going forward it's going to be a problem. But I think that was one of the biggest issues with the revival. Was that, hey, Ghost Noble donated $10 there to the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. Same. What was that? I didn't catch that. Let me pull that up in the chat there. The graphic disappeared so fast there. What was that Ghost said there? Mad love to you, bro. Hope you and the family are doing well. They're doing very well. Thank you for the kind words. Hope your family's doing well as well. And if you and everybody else is protesting, please make sure you look out for each other. You get home safely, man, because protesting, man, it's going a little bit crazy right now. But getting back to FTR, I don't want to be all long-winded with them. I think if you asked those that were fans of them from WWE, I think the biggest thing they would tell you is that they really did not truly get properly utilized. So as far as the people that are excited, and I'm actually one of those people, I'll gladly raise my hand up high, that are seeing these guys in AEW. Now, this is where I kind of differ from everybody else that's just hardcore, AEW, yeah, WWE's going to pay, WWE's going to... This is where I kind of draw the line and I go in a different path. Okay, we've heard superstar after superstar after superstar that used to work for the WWE or other promotions, whatever, but mainly WWE now, say, hey, as far as the creative freedom goes, I have a lot of that over here in AEW. So, me personally, and I think this is the mentality that everybody else needs to have right now, which is, all right, FTR is now in AEW. It's a clean slate now. Whatever went down in WWE, that's now in the past. Now you got to put one foot out, the other one forward. You got to keep on. You can't go backwards. So now they got this clean slate. All right, so if creative and all this other shit, okay. All right, if that is what was going on in one promotion, no more. You got a clean slate now in AEW. Let's see what happens. And they're kind of off to a rather lukewarm start. You know, I like it. The interview with Tony Schiavone, it was good. I love hearing them talk about, Private Party. Who else did they put over there? I love how they took a little bit of a jab at Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, saying they're not really a tag team. Poking fun at the fact how they've been able to function this long, and they're the tag team champions. Like, that's beyond them, right? So could kind of make the argument, maybe because they haven't run into them yet. So loved all of that. Of course, you got the Butcher and the Blade. They interrupted the interview because they're still pretty hot-headed from the cheap attacks that they had took at the hands of those guys from last week's Dynamite. So if I'm not mistaken, next week on Dynamite, we're going to be seeing in-ring action of FTR for the first time, as they're going to be taking on the Butcher and the Blade. So that should be a pretty good matchup. But I mean, taking them, I told you guys before they even popped up in AEW, I said they'd be a good fit for AEW. They would complement their tag division very well because AEW still was in need of some really good pieces there for their tag division. And, they've got that now. If there's one thing that really, what's the right words I'm looking for? If there's one thing that I really marinated on was, okay, if you don't have the Young Bucks, because we know, quarantine and all of that. Okay, if you don't have the Young Bucks, who else do you have? Who's your tier 2? Who's your tier 3? You don't want to just have a bunch of tier 3s or tier 4s just, something happens to your tier 1. Who's the backups? And, if there's one thing that I kind of noticed there, Young Bucks missing part of the time. Page and Omega was even missing part of the time. I like where things are going now, specifically with that tag division, particularly. I like where things are going now. And, I can't stress it again. I've been saying it off and on the past couple of weeks, and I can't stress it again. AEW just has to be very careful, and they got to make sure that they don't fucking spam out and keep adding all these new pieces. It's kind of like you're making a really good soup or a stew, and just when you think you have enough, that's in there. You got everything that's just, then another thing comes to mind. Let me add this. Oh yeah, and then let me add, just too much. It's just combating, all the seasoning, all the spices and all. It's just, you gotta stick to a certain amount for a certain time, do a certain amount of servings, and then you go ahead and, gradually, that's how you got to do it. Brian Cage having a few words there with Moxley, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way just a little bit, because, on the one hand, Moxley as the AEW World Champion, I liked him complimenting Brian Cage, recognizing his game, but also talking about how he's not intimidated by him, whatsoever, blah this, blah that. For me, that was, I had a hard time stomaching that promo. I really did, because I'm looking at Brian Cage, I'm going, and you're not intimidated, you're not scared of Brian Cage. This guy is shredded like a motherfucker. It's not Moxley's fault. It's damn sure not Cage's fault or Taz's fault. It's whoever was in charge of writing this shit. Now, I'm not saying you should have had Moxley, ooh, please don't hurt me. I'm not saying you should have had him like that, but you know, he kind of rebounded a little bit in his promo, but to just, you're nobody. I'm not intimidated by you. It rubbed me the wrong way. What I really wish would have happened was if I could have just went into Moxley mode there, you know, for a second. Big bad Brian Cage. Yeah, I heard a lot about you. Seen your stuff in other promotions. Yeah, now you're here. AEW. Yeah, man, now you're here with one of the wrestling greats in Taz. So you're going places. You think you're going places, huh? Well, I didn't get this AEW World Heavyweight Championship for nothing. And let me tell you something, that Fyter Fest. You want this title? You're gonna have to pry it off my cold dead hands. You know, and I think he said that last week. Have him say that shit again. You know, have him be that little runt. This is the time right now where Moxley needs to be fucking Wolverine. And the Wolverine that we remember in the comics, it didn't matter how big or tall a motherfucker was. Wolverine, you want to fight? Sneak, sneak, you know, bust out the claws, let's go. You know, so, yeah, I like that part in Moxley, but I really needed that to play up more than, you know, what we got with that exchange for this week's Dynamite. You know, not for nothing, but, you know, I don't know exactly the extent of AEW and Impact Wrestling's relationship, if there is one, if they're at least friendly with each other, but, you know, if there was ever a time to be name dropping some promotions where Brian Cage has won their respective World Heavyweight Championship, yeah, and this goes to something else. This goes to another point. I got a serious bone to pick on with regards to Brian Cage. You just can't have this guy show up and expect for the entire fucking wrestling universe to go, that's Brian Cage. That's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. And they're very repetitive. They being AEW, they're very repetitive at this. And you could go as far back as AEW's Double or Nothing 2020. I mean, that's great for us hardcore wrestling fans. We knew, you know, who Brian Cage and some of the other people were, but okay, that's great for the pay-per-view. But now you've got a couple of weeks of AEW Dynamite programming where these casual fans, you know, never, you know, my message to AEW, never take your fans for granted. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong, AEW, with taking fans, some fans, by the hand and saying, okay, let's tell you a little bit about Brian Cage. This is who he is. This is what he's about. This is where he's been, where he is now, where he plans on going. You know, cover your 5 W's. You know, I need to see that a lot more with AEW. You know, because if Moxley is just in story, just stop and think about this now. If Moxley in story is essentially overlooking Brian Cage, you know, you're kind of like, well, damn, you know, why should I even be excited about this fucking program? You know, this is where context is very, very important. And I got to see when Fyter Fest is going to be going down. I believe it's, I'll have to rely on you guys. I believe it's supposed to be a 2-parter on TNT. That's supposed to be coming up, if I understood that right. Yeah, but this is that time. This is that time where they really need to build up these characters. You know, for those of you that are not really familiar with the work of Brian Cage, you know, let us tell you about him. Yeah, I saw something that was really, I know we're kind of bouncing back and forth, but take a page out of what NXT did this week, AEW. There was one part during their show, NXT that is, where they were talking about the upcoming triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship between Charlotte Flair, Io Shirai, and Rhea Ripley. And I thought that was very well produced. I loved that. Whoever was in charge of putting all of that together, right down to the filming and all that, kudos. They go with Io Shirai. She is the first one to open up this video package. And basically, in a nutshell, they were showing, all three of these cats, showing how they were, training, basically preparing for this main event match. And with Io's, hers was a little bit different, because first they show her, it's pitch black, and she's, I guess, in a swimming pool or something. And, she's just, it was epic. I loved it. I loved it. It was awesome shit. They got her in there, and she's talking in her native language, so you get the English subtitle. Thank you, WWE. Hey, what have I been saying off and on these past several weeks, off and on the past couple of years, but particularly these past couple of weeks now? People are at home during this pandemic. There's nothing wrong with having some of your stars talk their native language, since English is probably a bit difficult for them. They're still learning it. No problem. Have them talk their native language. We are at home. We're okay reading the English subtitle. We're at home. Nobody's at the arena. Go for it. And, they had her talk about how, she likes being in isolation, all that. She loves the darkness. And, basically her message to Charlotte and Ripley was she is going to become the next NXT Women's Champion. Then they go to Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, but they went back to Io Shirai. And they had, who was the guy? They had... who's the guy that looks like Sam Roberts? They had Sam Roberts. They had Peter Rosenberg. They had Natalia. A couple other people that were putting over Io Shirai. And they were talking about how she won championships in, various other promotions. They named a couple, and, they were showing images of her and fighting at some of these other promotions before coming to WWE and everything, really setting it up properly. Take a page out of that book. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good blueprint. That's good blueprint to build off of. That would be my challenge to AEW. Stop having these people just pop up and, the hardcore, don't assume, never assume. There's nothing wrong. After all, when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, you've got a 2-hour block of programming. There's nothing wrong with, okay, for 2 hours, you only give us 6 matches, maybe 7 matches, and you want to put some pre-produced stuff in between. I'm okay with that. Just make that pre-produced stuff count where it counts the most. So hopefully a couple more weeks, they'll be able to clean that up, and, we'll be good to go and everything. Now, there was a first title defense for Cody. Cody defending that TNT championship in the main event against Jungle Boy. I gotta give my hats off to both of those men. That was a great match. Very, very good, strong, entertaining match. If you remember when we were on the Double or Nothing post show, remember the praise that not only did I give for Jungle Boy in his match against MJF, but basically how I was, telling you guys, what's happening with him. It's just a continuation in establishing him as a really good singles competitor. And the match he had with Cody, if you stop and really, really think about it, see, you'll be able to know very easily who's paying attention to the AEW product. Because peep this out, just peep this out. Home in on those that will say in forums and on social media, Jungle Boy had no business fighting Cody. What kind of stupid fucking booking was that? That was stupid as fuck, blah this, blah that. Those are the ones that obviously ain't really watching the product. Because when you go back, remember, not for nothing, Jungle Boy had that match against Chris Jericho. Remember that match? That was a pretty damn good matchup. Love the way they had built him up and everything, and facing Jericho there for the AEW Championship. All right, so that was, you know, a significant milestone for him as a singles competitor in AEW. Then you fast forward, great match that he had there with MJF at Double or Nothing. Okay, now you're following that up with this trilogy and him taking on Cody. You know, all of this, you know, not for nothing. It's nice little baby steps and really establishing. And how old is Jungle Boy right now? He is 23, going on 24. And I let me tell you something. He's not done yet. I mean, he's starting to fill out just a little tiny bit, but he doesn't have that man's body just yet. I got him probably by age, I've got him by age 27 or 28. I got him really starting to fill out. I don't think it's going to be a case where if you were to just kind of pick my brain a little bit, I don't think it's going to be a case where he's going to be as big as Brian Cage. I don't see, I'd be fucking shocked as shit if he were to get as big as Brian Cage. I can see him maybe getting, I'm trying to think, the way his build is right now, I could kind of see him ultimately maybe getting a Chris Benoit build. Almost to that degree. Or maybe like a Dynamite Kid type of build. I can almost see him maybe getting that. If he maybe gets to, I'm trying to think who else. I think that could be his peak, is what I'm saying. As far as, you know, how big do I think he could get? I think that could be his peak. Somewhere in between, I could also see him maybe get to, I'm trying to picture who else he could probably, just looking at his builds, just going over the roster. Yeah, Gino, I'd go with that one. Randy Orton build. Yes. I could see also a Randy Orton build. Yeah, for sure. Not Randy Orton when he first came to the WWE, because he technically was a powerhouse when you think back. I mean, Randy had a thick neck and all of that shit that was going on. But the Randy Orton that's running around right now, yes, Gino. If that's the version you're talking about, Gino, let me know if that's the version you're talking about. Because if you're talking about that version of Randy Orton, yes, I could see him somewhere between Randy Orton and what was the other build I just said? A Chris Benoit Dynamite Kid type of build. Because you could just, you know, don't take my word for it. Take a step back if you've been watching the product, and you can see where he's starting to fill out from, you know, where he was a couple of years ago. He's really starting to fill out around the shoulders, you know, definitely around the deltoids, around the waist. I think I already mentioned chest. You can see he's got a nice, if he keeps it up, he stays on top of his cardio and everything, he seems like he's going to have a nice wide out upper body, and it's going to be going down like a goddamn fucking V, man. Yeah, Gino's talking about today's Randy Orton. Yeah, I could definitely see that. That was a great match that the two of them had for Dynamite, for the main event. I enjoyed it tremendously. I did not appreciate Cody blading. I did not appreciate that. I know some people probably had really liked that. For me, I just thought it was a bit overkill, because my whole deal is, okay, well, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, let's just say for shits and giggles next week, Lance Archer challenges Cody for the TNT Championship. Well, you already did color last week against Jungle Boy. So, you know, how you going to top that? You know, you don't have to put everything out there in one match just to really make it come off. You know, isn't this great? Isn't this a special match that you're watching right now? Aren't you excited for this? Can you believe what's happening right before your very eyes? I appreciate and I can respect the storytelling and trying to get Jungle Boy over and everything. But for me, I thought the blade job there, the whole thing with the coloring, I thought that was just too excessive. I thought it was not needed. But it was still an entertaining match overall. A little bit of a bone to pick. I see everybody is going with the pyro. What the fuck was up with the pyro? Was the pyro really necessary? What the fuck? What the fuck? What's up with the pyro? Now, I'm like this. If you guys remember, when the reports came out a couple of years back that WWE was done with the pyroing and all that because they were trying to save money and everything. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was on this show and I said, well, you know what? Not for nothing. I get the fact that WWE is trying to make it seem as though every single show that they do is this big, spectacular, oh my God. I get that. Nah. Why are you wasting all of that on every single TV show? Save it for the pay-per-views. Save it for special events. Save it for when maybe there's a championship on the line on one of your TV shows. I actually was down for them cutting their budget and all that other shit. So, when I see what went down with Cody post-match, and the pyro and everybody is all out there, hugging him, and for me, I'm going, okay, so is this something that we're going to be seeing every single time? Is Brandy and Arn Anderson and Dustin and QT Marshall and whoever, the delivery boy, the beer guy, the valet attendant, and who, Cody's best friend from junior high, is this the new routine that we're going to be seeing every single week when he successfully defends the TNT championship? No, I don't suspect it's going to be like that every single time. If you were to ask me straight up, now I'll defer to you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, but going back to the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, I do not recall pyro or fireworks when Cody won the title. Now, if you guys recall, let me know, but just kind of playing back in my mind, I do not recall pyro. I do not recall fireworks. I do not recall confetti. I do not recall Brandy, Arn, QT Marshall, the valet guy. I don't recall any of that going on at Double or Nothing when Cody won. I could be wrong. I'm chalking up what I had saw this week, people. It's just one fucking episode. It's just one fucking week. Not for nothing, but this was the very first time that the title was on the line. Okay. Enough said. First time the TNT title was on the line on TNT. Far as I know, my 2 cents from a distance, they were trying to make it feel like a spectacular event. They were trying to make it feel very important because this is the TNT, this is the network title, basically. Okay, well, if you're going to put all of that in just one episode, okay, I'm all right with that. Now, if you continue to do the pyro and all that other shit, week in and week out, well, then that's when I kind of have to go, damn, a bit full of ourselves, aren't we? So, but people, it's just 1 week. I can understand it if we've been seeing this for about 3 weeks now, but just 1 fucking week. Let it go, people. Let it go. Some of the comments, I love some of you guys, man, but y'all really had me chuckling seeing that. I didn't particularly care. All I cared about at the end of the day was the match I had got, was it entertaining as fuck? That's all I gave a damn about at the end of the day. And it was. So kudos to AEW. High marks for that one. That was a very solid matchup. There was also, bear with me a second here, want to look up some more I don't want to go over the whole AEW stuff. I just want to go over some key points that caught my eye, and we can pretty much go from there. Let's see, what else here? Oh yeah. AEW tag team titles were on the line as Heyman Adam Page, Kenny Omega. They defended the titles successfully against Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian. Not bad of a matchup there. Not bad of a matchup. It was pretty good. That was actually your opener for Dynamite as well. That actually was a pretty good tag match. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Pretty good. Brian Cage was in action. He took on a jobber, killed him pretty quick. And this was before, or was it? Yeah, this was before Moxley and everything. Jericho with Sammy Guevara and Jack Hager. Remember, this was Jericho versus Colt Cabana. That actually was a damn good matchup. I actually had enjoyed that. I'm kicking back at how AEW had missed this. I don't know. But they were going on and on about how all the years of experience that these two men have combined involved in the wrestling business is going to be the epic, grand, spectacular match with all proportions. And it's all I could think about when I'm seeing this match advertised is, yeah, that might be true, but we're also looking at two of the very best in the wrestling podcasting world, because before the Steve Austins and everybody else, those two were essentially your godfathers there. I'm talking about for in-ring performers. I'm going, how the fuck do you miss that? How the fuck do you not advertise that as well? That was kind of, should have had a V8 right there. Good matchup though. Jericho defeating Colt Cabana. Interesting development with Colt Cabana though, because later on we saw him backstage. I forget the person who was interviewing him, but he talked about how he's wrestled for various promotions, and when it's counted the most, he's won multiple championships from various promotions, and that's all good and dandy, but when it's counted the most, as far as him taking on some marquee names, some big names, he's always come up short. And so you were seeing Colt Cabana a little bit frustrated here when suddenly he was approached by one Brody Lee. Remember, we hadn't seen Brody Lee since he lost to Jon Moxley at Double or Nothing. Brody Lee keeping it short and simple, saying, hey, sometimes you have to lose in order for yourself to pick yourself back up and go forward and start winning from then on out. Brody Lee basically saying to Colt Cabana, I can help you out with that, if you let me. So you're kind of like, that's interesting. Like, Brody Lee and his one henchman, they offered Colt Cabana a bottle of water and then they took off. Colt Cabana looked back at the interviewer and was like, yeah, interesting proposal, but I think I'm good. But it wasn't, as Tony Schiavone and them pointed out, it wasn't a decisive hell no, I'm solid. So is it possible we're going to be seeing a heel Colt Cabana there? Be kind of an interesting dynamic to have him join forces with the Dark Order, Brody Lee and all that. That's a very interesting new layer if they were to go in that direction. Women's action, Big Swole taking on Nyla Rose. This was our first time seeing Nyla Rose since she lost the Women's Championship. Damn good matchup. Nyla was in rare form. I didn't see any sloppiness. I didn't see any, not that I was looking for it, but just in real time. I mean, if I miss something, I'm sure I'll hear about it before the weekend is out. Botchamania. But no, good matchup between those two girls. Got to give it up to them. Happy to see Big Swole back. We hadn't seen Big Swole in a couple of weeks, and it looks as though maybe her next program is potentially going to be against the Dr. Britt Baker, because post-match, while Big Swole, was being interviewed by, I believe, Shivani, Britt Baker tried to steal a little bit of the spotlight, and she's got Rebel with her, and she's on this big-ass golf cart. What the fuck was the license plate of that? I think the license plate was Role Model or some shit like that. It was Rolls Royce. I think it was Rolls Royce. You're going, okay, playing off of the words, cute, loved it. But Britt Baker was actually talking some shit, some hot shit in her golf cart. And Big Swole actually grabbed a steel chair. She was ready to beat that little heifer down. But Britt Baker had Rebel, Reba, drive her off. So it kind of seems like maybe they're kind of, maybe go in that direction. I'm more surprised, and rightfully so, but I'm more surprised that Baker didn't try to talk mad shit to Nyla Rose. And yeah, I guess some of those tweets, by the way, as far as people's tweets that really jump out to me from AEW, as far as continuing some type of a story arc or just commenting on something that happened on TV with an opponent, Nyla Rose, I got to give her mad props, because whenever something is going on between her and somebody she faced or whatever, her Twitter game is on fucking point. There's not a day that goes by I peep out her Twitter, and her game is on point, man. There was one tweet she put out where she was offering a little bit of a rebuttal towards Britt Baker for the whole conspiracy wall that she had made last week or whatever. And Nyla Rose had the most simplistic image, and it basically has showed a Barbie doll amongst some other dolls, and this particular Barbie doll was in a wheelchair. And Nyla Rose had said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, she said something along the lines of, bitch better keep her name out of my mouth or I'm gonna break that other leg. And all you see was all these dolls, from Mattel, all these Barbie dolls, Ken and everybody else is just standing up, and you got the Barbie in the wheelchair. And that shit was just funny. That shit was funny on so many levels. You gotta peep out her Twitter game if you got Twitter. Her Twitter game is pretty on point. Pretty on point. Let's see, what else? Anything else we need to go over? So, overall, a good episode of AEW Dynamite. They did a lot. The main thing I gotta compliment AEW on, they did a really good job in putting the spotlight on the undercard. I personally felt, even on guys like Orange Cassidy. I mean, after Jericho had defeated Colt Cabana, he's talking mad shit about Mike Tyson. Now he wants to beat his ass and everything. Basically, he puts out a challenge saying he wants Mike Tyson next week or whatever. He wants the baddest man on the planet. He kept saying, I want the baddest man on the planet. Next thing you know, Orange Cassidy's music comes on. Orange Cassidy comes out, and he's just sizing up Jericho, takes Jericho's hands and puts it under his belt in his pants, and he's just standing there, hitting the pose right with him. Jericho Swagger, they try to attack him, but Cassidy was able to retreat, go back to his best friend buddies and everything, and that was a nice little spot. But when I think about stuff like that, I just talked about Nyla Rose, Big Swole. I just talked about Colt Cabana there taking on Jericho, Cody taking on Jungle Boy. There was a lot of shining, I personally felt, on the undercard for AEW, even right down to the tag team opener. So they did a really good job at that in trying to establish the undercard more. So I definitely got to give them a lot of props on that. Show had flowed pretty damn well. A little bummed out that there was no Mike Tyson appearance, but overall, good effort by everybody. I personally felt. Look, we'll talk about NXT in a hot second. If you guys have been enjoying the show so far, please do me a huge favor, especially if you're watching this on YouTube. Would mean a lot. Make sure you hit the like button. It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. And the best part about that, when you hit that like button, it lets the YouTube algorithm gods know, hey, this is some good shit. And it recommends to other wrestling fans, hey, check this out. It's good shit. Appreciate that. We'll get into some Patreon shout outs in a hot minute there. Hey, let's keep rocking. Let's keep rolling. Look, NXT. Good show. Not as good as AEW. But a good show. I'm glad that this Cruiserweight tournament is over with. Let me take a swig real quick. I'm glad that this tournament is over. Shout out to John Draper. I was interacting with him the other day, and it was just one short exchange, and he was talking about how he could understand how AEW continues to beat NXT in the ratings. And, I added on top of that, I said, yeah, so, not for nothing. I was like, but, these matches that they have, they're okay. But when you're doing everything centered around a cruiserweight title, I'm sorry, but not sorry. People have not given a fuck about that cruiserweight title since Enzo, Austin Aries, Pac, aka Neville. They haven't given a fuck about the title since then. Now, Drew Gulak was pretty damn good, I felt, but he was not those other guys I just mentioned. And that's the honest truth. I can remember still being even remotely interested in trying to figure out what was going on with that cruiserweight title when those other guys that I just mentioned had it. And I would actually go out of my way. Oh, let me watch 205 Live. I got to see what's going on. And I had an epiphany. Is that how you pronounce it? Forgive me if I mispronounce that. But it just came to me. And I said it in the tweet to Drapes. I said, they really should have utilized this time over these past couple of weeks and just done the fucking Mae Young Classic. They should have just done the Mae Young Classic. I would have been totally fine with that. I would have. It still could. Hear me out. It still could have been NXT. It still could have been NXT. But you could have gone on ahead and you could have put in the Mae Young tournament. Think about it for a second. You could have easily done the first hour of just straight up NXT program. Easily. And then the second hour, you could have let that been all about the Mae Young Classic. Or to make sure you don't lose viewers, you could have just mixed it up. But either way, you could have done the Mae Young Classic tournament. And by the time it wrapped up, you could have easily done a scenario where whoever comes out as the Mae Young Classic winner, not only do they win this nice, cool, kick-ass trophy, blah, 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 but they'll be able to face the winner of the Charlotte versus Ripley versus Shirai triple threat match for the NXT Women's title at the In Your House pay-per-view. You'll face the winner of that. You don't have to say when that's supposed to go down immediately. Just that, I think that probably would have had people, pretty excited. And not for nothing, but WWE has so many people signed to a developmental contract right now. They got so many talents that's down there living in the Florida area. Man, you could have easily, and you could have also, within reason, you could have also reached out to a couple of local female wrestlers. And you could have easily spaced it out. Your guess is as good as mine what's going on with some of the programming that WWE is doing. Oh, yeah, we're talking about the Mae Young Classic. We're not sure, We know the fans, we want to do it too. And it's like, okay, well, hey! We're dealing with a pandemic right now. If there was ever a time, I'm just saying, what's up? But whatever. It is what it is. All right, so Drake Maverick did not win the Cruiserweight tournament to ultimately become the Cruiserweight champion, but he did get the next best thing, which was, and the match that he had against Phantasma, by the way, is, that was, I enjoyed that. I love that. Very rare that, I'll save that for later. Had a really good thought, but I'll save it for later. It was a very good match. Phantasma coming out of that. He is your interim NXT Cruiserweight Champion. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. I personally feel that the wrong man won, if you ask me. I look, not trying to discredit Phantasma in any type of way, but it's just, it ain't clicking for me. I don't know how it is for you guys, but it's not clicking for me right now. But whatever, it is what it is. So Drake Maverick does not become the interim NXT Cruiserweight Champion, but he gets the next best thing. Before the show went off the air, Triple H comes out, hands him a NXT contract. You could hear Triple H just a little bit. He said, you earned it. So Drake signs it. Okay, so Drake Maverick is officially part of NXT. Hey, solid. Very solid. Very solid. Also, I was talking about her a couple of weeks ago. Santana Garrett. Santana Garrett was in action as she took on Aaliyah. And I'm not talking about the singer. Was happy to see Santana Garrett in action, because I remember, oh God, there was some match that she had a couple of weeks ago, and I want to say it was on Raw. And I remember being very disappointed because it was basically a squash match. And I remember just saying, I wasn't long-winded with it, but I remember saying, damn, I feel bad for Homegirl, because followed her for years. I know what she's capable of, and, what the fuck, So to see her in this match against Aaliyah, first off, you say to me, Santana Garrett, I'm already glued to the TV, because I know I'm going to get a good matchup. Not that long of a match. It was barely 2 minutes. Santana Garrett defeating Aaliyah. This was a short-ass match. Robert Stone had came out. He was trying to play quarterback and everything, and coach as well, trying to direct Aaliyah and everything. After we found out this week on NXT, apparently, because they showed some footage that was taped earlier, apparently homegirl Chelsea Green dumped the Robert Stone brand. So her head is high in the clouds and everything, since she had paired up with Charlotte Flair, and now she thinks her shit don't stink, and as a result of that, she don't need the Robert Stone brand anymore. See, here's my problem with that right now, and this could go in a couple of different directions, so bear with me a second here. Here's my problem with that. First off, Chelsea Green, Robert Stone weren't even together that long. So, it almost feels like you've been dating somebody for 3 weeks. And then there's just that one moment where, I don't know, maybe it goes, hey, you like Twizzlers? I like the sour apple. Oh, well, what about the regular, the cherry ones? Oh, man, those are nasty as fuck. And then there's this big fucking blow up, and, they basically decide that you're not the one for them because you don't like original Twizzlers. What the fuck? That's how I sum up Chelsea Green and the Robert Stone brand. We really hadn't, seen them together that long. And then because of this one win, just... Okay, so riddle me this. What's going on here? Okay, so is ultimately Robert Stone gonna be an in-ring competitor? Is that maybe what's going on eventually? Or no, he's still gonna be in a manager role. He's just gonna ultimately move on to somebody else. I like the pairing. I gotta be honest. I like the pairing of Chelsea Green and Robert Stone. I thought they complemented each other very, very well. And now that you've essentially separated the two, I really hope that the two of them actually get back together. But just looking at it, let's just say they don't get back together. Robert Stone and Aaliyah, I could see the potential. I could definitely see the potential. She is a bit sassy. I can see that. I could also see him pairing up with Santana Garrett. I could also see that as well. But the thing with Santana Garrett, and longtime fans of women's wrestling can back me up on this, Santana is the ultimate babyface. She is the ultimate babyface. So, I don't really think that would kind of... I've seen her as a heel, and it just... it was okay. I like her better as a face. So, just kind of looking at the rest of the roster, if you ask me what would be a better transition, here's an idea. What about the Robert Stone brand and the Garganos? Just a thought. Just a thought. Looking at the rest of the roster, thinking about the rest of the roster right now. There's really nobody else that I'm really eyeing that, put Robert Stone with them. Garganos really jump out to me off the break, more so for Candice LeRae. Yeah. What do you guys think? You guys that's checking out NXT. Let's just say Chelsea Green is no longer with Robert Stone. It's finito. It's official. Who would you like to see Robert Stone get paired up with? Do you even want to see Robert Stone pair up with anybody? That's the real question that should be asked. Also, Breezango returned. I ain't seen them in months, man. Breezango returned. They were the mystery tag team that were involved in the NXT Tag Team Championship #1 contenders match. They had faced Danny Burch and Oney Larkin and the Undisputed Era. Man, this for me, that was the match of the night. I wish this match would have gone just a little bit longer. I got it clocked in just barely over 10 minutes. Breezango picking up the win. Imperium coming out afterwards looking at Breezango. But behind them was Malcolm Bevins with Indus Sher. Or Indus Sher. You gotta give me a couple of weeks once I see these guys on the regular. And I gotta tell you, for the Malcolm Bevins guy and Indus Sher, I ain't gonna even lie to you guys. That was my first time ever seeing those guys. Because when I gotta be honest, I'll be real. When I first saw Malcolm, I was like, It's like, who's the short, bald head black guy? It's like, is that a fan? And then the camera homed in on him, and he just had this cross-eyed look on it. He's like, and I'm just, what the fuck is wrong with I was like, what the fuck is wrong with him? That guy, his whole look just cracked me up. I was like, okay, oh, okay, so you're the, you know what Malcolm Bivens reminded me of? He reminded me of Uptown Saturday Night with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier. And remember midway through the movie, they go to the bar and they're trying to meet. I can't think of the character's name. I've seen it so many times and I can't think of the character's name. But they're trying to find somebody, some crime boss that could help Sidney Poitier retrieve his lottery ticket because it was a winning ticket. And they were talking mad shit. They were talking mad shit about this damn dude. And then finally, this big dude pops up and they're like, oh, are you? Like, nah, I'm blah, blah, blah. And then when the real crime boss stepped forward, it's this short little, pint-sized guy. And it turns out he beat the shit out of those guys. By the way. Oh, good shit, man. Good shit. Look that movie up. Especially if you're a fan of blaxploitation films, especially the stuff from the 70s. Look that up. Some good shit right there. Good shit. Let's see. I'm just seeing if there's anything else I want to talk about here. Candice LeRae took on Mia Yim, matching it up in a double count out because they just could not focus on taking the action into the ring. Johnny Gargano interfered in this a little bit. Keith Lee coming to the scene. This match got restarted. It was Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano taking on Keith Lee and Mia Yim. Final moments of that one. Candice LeRae rolled up Mia, basically to steal the victory there. And that was both of those were short. I mean, the double count out, a little bit over 4 minutes. That tag match itself, really nothing to talk about. That was almost 4 minutes, so nothing really you could sink your teeth into, folks. Nothing you could really sink your teeth into. Let's see, what else? Yeah, a lot of their matches, just from my notes that I had, took a lot of these matches for NXT. Short, like a motherfucker. 3 minutes here. 2 minutes there, barely 4 minutes here. Really the one joint that even got the proper time was Maverick taking on Phantasma. That was really it. Everything else was just, it was dragging at times. I gotta be honest, it was dragging at times. Right down to the point, by the time the show was over, you couldn't believe that 2 hours went past. Because it just really, really felt like they were just mainly relying on God, and it didn't even seem like they were really relying on highlights or anything like that. But yeah, a lot of those matches, very, very short this week. Very, very short. For a 2-hour show. Very, very short this week. Charlotte Flair, though, the Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai video package, I thoroughly had enjoyed that. Aside from the main event match between Maverick and Phantasma, Santana Garrett for selfish reasons. I'm very biased right now when it comes to Santana Garrett. Yeah, those were really the highlights for me. So I can understand how AEW defeated NXT in the ratings for this week. They definitely, not saying it just to be saying it, I sincerely mean it. Look, when NXT, I will definitely give the devil its due. I definitely will. I try to be as unbiased as possible, but AEW for this week, they did put out the better product. Definitely got to give them props. And to the ratings are in. Showbuzz Daily's reporting that Dynamite netted 730,000 viewers for a .29 cable rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. Meanwhile, NXT came in 715,000 viewers for a .20 rating. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, I mean, just hear me out for a second. Combine those. So that's basically 1.5 million wrestling fans on a Wednesday night. That's 1.5 million wrestling fans on a Saturday night. Meanwhile, if you really want to have a hearty laugh, go look at the Raw SmackDown ratings. And it's like, what the fuck? For instance, the SmackDown rating with Jeff Hardy and the whole fucking, not too bad, but hey, you got Fox. Stop and think now, you got Fox. SmackDown for last week, they did pretty good. They did 2.15 million viewers. Now that's pretty damn good. As long as SmackDown can continue to focus on good quality of scripts and everything, past several weeks they've been kind of, they've been, a bit rocky. But it kind of seems like now they're kind of, I don't know if somebody finally woke up and said we got to actually start writing some good shit people will like or what. But they're doing a better job. I definitely got to give them credit. Meanwhile, SmackDown, just told you that 2 point blah 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 rating. Raw in the meantime, 1.7. 1.7. So, that's not good. 1.728 million. Last week was 1.735 million. But just home in on that Wednesday night. That's pretty damn good for a Wednesday night. That's pretty damn good. And to think there used to be a time where Impact Wrestling used to get numbers like that. Oh, how time flies. I want to take this time out. Give a shout out to some of our Patreon members. Remember, patreon.com/RCWR show. You can check out bonus audio and video content, great majority of which you won't be able to find anywhere else. Shout out to Patreon members Gino. Shout out to Sean Kenter. Shout out to Justin Ripstock. Also, shout out to Michael Wolf, John Davis. Special shout out to Tony Bing Gaming. You want the very latest in all things Marvel Strike Force, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and Marvel Super War. Tony Bing Gaming. Tips, tricks, news, walkthroughs, reviews. Check him out. YouTube. He also has a Patreon paywall as well. Patreon.com/RCWR show. $5 a month gets you access to bonus audio and video content. I will be sitting down tomorrow night and I will be recording for Patreon my thoughts on Carneyland and MLW. So peep that out. That's how we're going to be kicking off this month of June. So peep that out when you guys get a chance. I gotta hit up Tony Bing Gaming, by the way, because I'm a little bit curious. How come he doesn't do a better job in covering Marvel Future Fight? For those of you that are patiently continuing to wait on Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 to, hopefully make its way to the Xbox and the PlayStation, well, you got the next best thing right now, which is Marvel Future Fight. And it basically, it plays off of the same engine, same gameplay per se, as Marvel Ultimate Alliance. But it does get a bit redundant after a while, because there's only but so many things that you can do. But if there was ever a time to play Marvel Future Fight right now, now's the time to be playing it, because this week a new update was introduced. It is Guardians of the Galaxy that's basically invaded the game. So the update, it's adding in 3 new characters, quests, and uniforms for agents to collect. So right off the break, we got 5 new playable characters that are affiliated with the Guardians. We get Falabelle, Beta Ray Bill, one of my all-time favorite and underrated Marvel characters that is in later years getting some love now. Darkhawk. Love Darkhawk. Matter of fact, and maybe one day I'll do a unboxing. Maybe we'll do it on Patreon, and then maybe eventually I'll share that same unveiling unboxing to everybody on all the platforms. But I actually have, in its entirety, I have the entire original from the 90s, the early 90s. I actually have the original series run of Darkhawk, issue 1 through, I think they went up to 50 or 75, and then there was like an anniversary issue or a couple anniversary issues. I have them all, mint condition, plastic, cardboard, whole 9 yards, delicately read each one of them, put it back in cardboard and plastic, never opened it up again. Also, rest in peace to NBA legend Wes Unseld. He had played for the Washington Bullets, even had coached them in the late 80s going into the early 90s, was the vice president and general manager, wore like 3 different hats from an executive or administrative position with the Washington Bullets after he was done as a player. He had been suffering from the pneumonia, and also he has other health problems as well, but the main one was pneumonia, and he had passed away this week, age 74. I got to give a shout out to one of my Twitter buddies, Steve Buckhands, who is just legendary as far as DC sports announcers go, especially for his decades in covering the Washington Bullets, going into the Washington Wizards. Him and Phil Chenier, they are now doing a podcast. I think they're now maybe on their 3rd or 4th episode. I think the first 1 or 2 was about Michael Jordan and everything. And I can only imagine they're going to be doing an episode dedicated to Wes. So, check that out, for some basketball nostalgia and everything. But yeah, rest in peace to Wes Unseld. Sadly, did not see him play as a kid, because by the time I was born, he pretty much had retired. Now, I did see a little bit of his coaching when I had came out here to DC, when I first came to DC and everything. So I saw about the tail end of his coaching for those couple of years. But yeah, rest in peace. It was very sad to hear that. It was very sad to hear that. I was prepared to hear coronavirus, but nah, that's not what had took him out. Hey, I didn't forget about Impact Wrestling. We'll definitely talk about that. And a couple of more little headlines here. First off, shout out to MLW's Alex Hammerstone. He reached a 1-year milestone this week with his MLW National Overweight title reign. 1 year. 1 year. So congrats. Nothing but good news for him that's going on. Also, Chris Jericho is going to be returning to AEW's commentating for next week's episode. Some of the matches that's also going to be happening on next week's Dynamite. FTR, as I mentioned, is going to be taking on the Butcher and the Blade. Colt Cabana is going to be taking on Sammy Guevara. Jack Hager, Santana, Ortiz will be taking on Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. And we got the TNT Championship, as Cody will be defending against Mark Quinn. So that should be a pretty good Dynamite. Also, y'all, if you haven't checked out AEW Dark, y'all may want to check it out, because next week, Moxley is going to be in action. You heard me right. Moxley is going to be in action. Dragon Gate, they've announced some more sad news as they've canceled more live events with regards to this coronavirus pandemic that's going on. So far, 9 events have been canceled, going from June the 13th until June 29th. Again, from June 13th until June 29th, they have canceled some more dates. Understandable. FS1, they are going to be airing, for those of you that maybe do not have the WWE Network, they are going to be airing on FS1 the 1996 Survivor Series. That's a monumental Survivor Series because Rocky Maivia, aka Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, made his debut on that one. So if you don't have the WWE Network, you'll be able to check that out with loads of commercials on FS1. So check that out. That's going to be airing, I believe it's going to start airing at maybe 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Check your local listings. Speaking of The Rock, I can't stress it enough. Check out, if you haven't already, the passionate video that The Rock had put out there without even mentioning his name, taking shots at the current president and his administration over his handling of the protests and the whole George Floyd situation, the rioting and all of that. It's 8 minutes. I promise you won't regret. And I agree with every single thing that Dwayne Johnson said in that video. That's it in a nutshell. But check that out. Check that out. If you want something that'll make you feel inspired to maybe want to do something in your community, or just the way he put it out there so eloquently. I'd play the video right now, but I don't want to get in trouble or anything. So, but check that out. Check that out when you guys get a chance. This shit, by the way, about Tony Khan banning Linda and Hulk Hogan from future AEW events, and everybody's just going, oh yeah, way to get the Hogans, Tony. Oh yeah, oh yeah, that's how you do it. First off, Linda hasn't had anything to do with pro wrestling since she divorced the Hulkster. All she's wanted is all the money that should have been coming to her when she was married to him up to a certain point. That's all she's given a damn about. We haven't heard anything from Linda in fucking years. And as far as the Hulkster goes, well, unless shit has changed, Hogan should be still under a Legends deal of some type. So Hogan's actually, Hogan's okay. He's got that WWE money. He's all right. He's got that. He's got other shit. He's okay. He is more than okay. I get where Tony Khan is coming from, and I guess as far as Tony Khan is concerned, the Hulkster hasn't changed or whatever. But if you are going to throw, I'm like this. Just hear me out for a second. I'm like this. You got beef with somebody with what they said on social media or whatever. Okay, then you go at them. You hold them accountable, whatever. But the one thing that I always talk about on this show, self-accountability. All right, so if you're going to come out there, in this case, Tony Khan's going to jump out there at both Hogans. Well, Tony Khan, you got to take self-accountability as well. You got to take self-accountability for your first AEW world champion in Chris Jericho. And yeah, sure, he might have had Trump Jr. on his podcast, but that still ruffled some people's feathers the wrong way. Add on top of that, supposedly, Jericho blocking someone that happens to be black, and basically he blocked them supposedly, gotta put the quotes, supposedly, because of their Black Lives Matter video. And then on top of that, Tony Khan's dad and the amount of money that he kicked in to President Trump and his administration in hopes that they would win office during the first term. I mean, there's a whole lot of, you're opening up Pandora's box there when you're trying to scold somebody. My whole thing is, if you're going to jump out there on somebody, something, you make sure that your shit is bulletproof when the finger gets pointed right back at you. You make sure you have your rebuttals and facts and all that straight. And, Tony Khan has a lot to learn. And I appreciate Tony Khan being very vocal on social media, interacting with the fan base, but less is better. I need him to focus more on the behind the scenes for AEW. If he's in charge of helping out with the writing and time management and all of those things and booking and all of that, okay, then focus on those things. Utilize social media for the sole purpose. In the case of Tony Khan, utilize social media to just let it be about your brand, your product, in this case, AEW. Do what you need to do to help put it over. If you want to do the whole hashtag Black Lives Matter, Blackout Tuesday, and, hey, there's nothing wrong with that, but you just got to prepare for whatever type of scrutiny you might go under. He still has a lot to learn. There's a reason why you don't see Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, or what did Michael Jordan say in his documentary there? What did he say? Republicans buy Nikes as well. So Michael Jordan was trying to do his best to not rock the boat. He was trying to be as right down the middle as best as humanly possible. I gotta tell you, I was quite dumbfounded. At Tony Khan responding the way that he did. For me, it came off a little bit, I won't say juvenile, but I gotta tell you, when I first read that, it took me back. And it took me back because, damn, Tony, why you even wasting a thought? Why you even wasting 60 seconds to even respond to that? Seriously. Just quietly, okay, they said that, okay. In-house, hey, these people, don't want them at any AEW event. If I ever find out they're at an event, I want them escorted out. Refund them their money and all that, but I don't want them at an event. I was quite taken back by that. A little disappointed, I gotta say, because I thought he'd been better than that, but hey, it is what it is. But y'all gotta be careful, man. Some of y'all and the way y'all use social media, man, I'm telling you, y'all gotta be careful. Hey, Impact Wrestling, gotta give it up, man. It was actually a pretty good episode this week. Enjoyed the tag match there between Kiera Hogan, Tasha Steelz. They're actually gelling pretty damn good as a tag team. They defeated the team of Kylie Ray and Susie. How soon before we see Su Yung come out of there? I'm very curious there. Also, probably one of the main big takeaways to come out from Impact of this week, there was a number one tag team contenders match. Rascals, Wentz and Dents had took on TJP and Falabala. The winners of that one were the Rascals. So somewhere down the road, they're going to be taking on the North. And they're coming into their own. I got to say, I saw that silly little thing with them going to the Diener compound or whatever, and I'll never get that time back. Let me just say it that way. I'll never get that time back. Also, the virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, apparently she's going to be making her debut next week, if I remember that right. Also, number one world title contender tournament finals. Trey was to face Ace Austin. However, Trey was seen backstage before the match began. Somebody took him out. Now you're kind of wondering, well, who the fuck is going to be the person to take on Ace Austin, or does Ace Austin win by default? Like, what's going on here? Wentz rushed out to challenge Ace Austin. I know it was you. I know you attacked my buddy. What's up? This had led to Impact Management coming out and clearing the air and saying, okay, obviously Trey can't go. Wentz, you willing to go in his place? Yeah, sure. Let's go. So it was Wentz taking on Ace Austin. Ace Austin coming out of that. So in the near future, Ace Austin is going to be facing either Tessa Blanchard for the Impact World Championship, or that is, if he gets talked into it by Moose, he's going to be facing Moose for the TNA World Championship. And we already know the story about that belt. By the way, I loved seeing Moose in that fucking segment with the Rascals. I was wondering how he was gonna flow in that fucking segment, because I'm like, oh man, this dude seems so out of place, but he actually gelled pretty. Everything that Moose fucking touches on Impact, it fucking shines, man. It fucking shines. Moose is the fucking highlight. Moose, I'm coming around to him big time. I've always been a big supporter of his, but I'm really coming around to him. Ace Austin, I'm really warming up to as well. Ken Shamrock returned as well. Michael Elgin was throwing another temper tantrum, talking about how it should be him. He should be the rightful number one contender. Well, dude, when it's all said and done, you didn't win the tournament. And then they just had Ken Shamrock come out there like a senior citizen, angry that he couldn't use his fucking Denny's $10 off coupon or some shit. That kind of blew my mind, and Elgin just backing off. I kind of like what I had proposed. I believe it was on last week's show. I had proposed the idea of having Ken Shamrock interfere in what was the match? Because didn't they do Sami Callihan versus Michael Elgin? And my idea was, should have had Ken Shamrock just interfere in that one, cost Shamrock the opportunity to advance, and then boom, those guys are right back at it. Yeah, the way they just nonchalantly put old man Ken Shamrock out there like that, I didn't like that. I felt that was a poor proper use of the man when it was all said and done. I mean, look, they should have a good program, but that was just kind of shitty how they did that. But Impact Wrestling did pretty damn good this week. Let's see. We've been on the air for about an hour and 44 minutes, even though we had a little bit of a hiccup earlier. I promise you guys that is going to be nipped in the bud this weekend. We're going with a new hosting provider for all our streams. I promise you guys. So we won't have to deal with that shit again, because that's very irritating. Another thing that'll probably help as well, I'll also make sure that the OBS is updated. It's been a good minute since I had last checked to see when an update had kicked in. But I think everything is up to date. Normally I get prompted as soon as I load up to reboot. So we got WWE In Your House that's going to be going down this weekend. Let's see how this card is looking here. And we can go over some match predictions here. Where are we here? There we are. All right. So we got about 6 matches so far. We're going to end it on this note. All right. So we got Mia Yim, Shotzi Blackheart, and Tegan Knox taking on Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. By the way, NXT, remember that idea I had said to you guys last week on the different directions they could go with the women and all that? There was also a little bit of a brawl spat that went down on this week's NXT before Keith Lee and Gargano had came out and everything. So it's nice to see that now you got all these women that's going to be at In Your House involved in this 6-woman tag team matchup. I like the team of Mia Yim. I got to go with that team. I'm going to go with them. Johnny Gargano takes on Keith Lee for the North American Championship. Oh, man. Tough one. Keith Lee. I'm gonna ride it out. Keith Lee for the retain. Adam Cole takes on Velveteen Dream. Last chance backlot brawl for the NXT Championship. If Dream loses, he can no longer challenge for the NXT Championship while Adam Cole is still champion. I think it's time for some new blood. I really do. And let me tell you something. I would not be that surprised, and I would not put it past WWE if they're looking at everything that's been going on right now. I'm just saying, you got to think that way, because WWE, at the end of the day, they like good press. They like good PR. I would not put it fucking past them to put the title on Velveteen Dream. Now, under lighter circumstances, I'm down. I would hate for him to win the championship given these circumstances that's going on right now. I really would. But it just feels so WWE's gonna... I'm going to go with Velveteen Dream. I think you guys are going to get a new NXT champion, and I think it's going to be Velveteen Dream. Damian Priest taking on Finn Balor. Priest. I'm going to go with Damian Priest. Charlotte Flair defends the NXT Women's Championship against Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai. Triple threat match. Shit. Charlotte's been at it pretty damn hard. This is a tricky one. Charlotte retains. That's my good instinct. Charlotte retains. Tommaso Ciampa takes on Karrion Kross. Come on. I can't bet against Karrion Kross. Come on now. Killer Kross, man. Come on now. Got to go with Kross, hands down. All right, let's recap. Team of Mia Yim. Keith Lee for the retain. Velveteen Dream for your new NXT champion. Damian Priest over Balor. Charlotte Flair for the retain in the triple threat. And Karrion Kross for his first win at a takeover event for NXT. That is how I'm looking at it. Let me know you all's predictions too. And yes, I will be live with you guys. That pay-per-view is this Sunday. In Your House is this Sunday. I kept saying Saturday because I'm so used to them doing pay-per-views on Saturday for the NXT shows, but it looks like this go round. Actually, hang on a second. I think it is on Saturday. So let me look some. Oh yeah, all right. So now it's 12:10 a.m. East Coast time, and it's Friday, June the 5th. So yeah, it's on a Sunday. Yeah, it's officially. I'm looking at it. It's on a Sunday in Your House. I'm so used to them doing the takeovers on a Saturday, so I will be live after In Your House goes off the air. I'm not talking about the show with LL Cool J, by the way. Shout out if you remember that one. But yeah, I'll be live. We'll be streaming on multiple platforms, and that should be a fun show. I'm looking forward to that one, and looking forward to talking NXT TakeOver with you all. Should be a fantastic show. I mean, honestly, just looking at the card, looks pretty good from top to bottom. As far as what's probably going to be match of the night, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a match of the year candidate. Velveteen Dream taking on Adam Cole for sure. I think right up under that, the triple threat for the women's championship. And I think the sleeper hit is going to be Karrion Kross against Tommaso Ciampa. I'm looking at it in that order. But yes, we'll be live then. Patreon members, you already got the heads up. I promise you guys, by the time we come back Sunday, this tech shit, we're going to have it resolved. I promise you, we're going to be moving to a new platform, so we shouldn't be experiencing any more stream interruptions. I appreciate you all's patience. I thought for sure everything was wrapped up. I had it all under control with this installment, but obviously not. That's okay. You know, twice is enough for me, because sadly I'm gonna have to now render the video once again, render the audio and all that other shit. And I ain't doing that tonight. I'm not doing that tonight. So way I'm gonna do it right now, I'm just gonna edit everything, have it ready to go for tomorrow night for you guys to enjoy. Meantime, get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. Thank you for the super chat, Ghost. And thanks to everybody that had tuned in live. One more time, enjoy the show. Make sure you give a like, subscribe, all that good jazz. Really, really helps out. Helps the YouTube algorithm gods. Big time. Until next go round, wishing all y'all to be safe and most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Y'all do take care. Adios.